So, Terry, I'll give you a quick introduction and then we'll get rolling onto this. If you have questions before we dive in here, if you have questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. Terry's going to be doing most of the talking for the next 25 to 35 minutes. I'll chime in as needed. Questions, put them in the chat. Questions, raise your hand. Some questions we might not get to right away because I kind of know the direction Terry's going to be going. And so they might get answered before I interrupt him. So we're gonna let Terry fire away. Like I said, let him give you about 25 to 35 minutes of great content on our new Direct Mail 2.0 platform. And with that, Terry, I'll let you take it away, and I'll let you dazzle them with some amazing knowledge. Let's take it away.
All right, thanks for the build up.
You got it.
So yeah, everybody, I really appreciate you guys joining the call today to learn. And we're going to talk a little bit about just direct mail in general, the benefits of direct mail, but also take a deep dive into the future of direct mail, which we definitely believe and we definitely use an omni-channel marketing approach in order to increase not only the response rate that we're receiving from that powerful direct mail piece, but also to be able to increase the conversion, right? The return on investment that you're seeing from the direct mail campaign as well. So responses and expectations, right? So direct mail actually does receive an amazing response rate, right? It outperforms all other digital channels and just continues to receive a better and better response rate over the years. Now, we're not saying that you shouldn't be using some of these different digital components, actually quite the opposite, which we're going to get into as well, right? We're just saying that this is a powerful jumping off tool, and then we're going to be able to use some of those different digital elements to increase that response rate that we're going to receive. So why is direct mail actually receiving a better response rate even now than 20 years ago, right? When there were actually less marketing channels even available to us. Well, one of the reasons is it's a lot less saturated, right? A lot of organizations have, 15 to 20 years ago went the email route, right? They might have stopped doing direct mail. We're no longer in the days of receiving, 5 to 10 pieces of promotional mail each and every day. If we're lucky, we might get one or two. So the impact on that one direct mail piece has just continued to increase as the years have gone on. So this is actually might be an outdated slide, all right? So the average consumer sees 4,000 to 10,000 marketing messages per day. That number has actually increased. I think I created this slide about a year ago. It's probably closer to 10 to 15,000 at this point. And the reason I mentioned this is because the idea that we're going to be able to get the type of response and conversion that we want simply from one impression is simply outdated, right? We need to be able to reach that target audience, not only with multiple impressions, but also to be able to reach them across multiple channels as well as multiple devices, and to be able to do this multiple times. Okay. So anytime I do a presentation, I always mention these stats because it's extremely relevant to exactly what we're going to talk about today. So the first one, as you can see, is actually an MIT study that's based upon consumer behavior when it comes to marketing, right? And that is that 90% of consumers are actually going to visit your website first, right? So before they pick up the phone and call or visit your brick and mortar location, chances are these individuals are going to go online, right? And out of that 90%, based upon Google Analytics and their statistics, we know that over 96% of them are going to leave without taking any sort of action, right? Without actually signing up or making that purchase. So we really need to be able to stay in front of that target audience. Repetition is essential. And another great stat, 80% of sales, and we can replace sales with different verbs, right? We can replace it with conversions, donations, app downloads, whatever that conversion process looks like. Typically, it's going to happen between the 8th and the 12th touch. So what our goal is with this platform that we're going to go over today is to be able to take that one impression and turn it into 8 to 16 impressions. Also, repetition in direct mail. So when you're talking about repetition in direct mail, ideally, we want to be able to target that same audience with the same or at least similar messaging multiple times as well. Kind of that ideal touch point when you're talking about direct mail is 3, right? So we really want to be able to reach them even multiple times with a physical direct mail piece as well. Omni-channel versus multi-channel, right? So if those of you that have not heard this term or not familiar with it as far as omni-channel marketing, well, I'm sure you've heard of multi-channel marketing, which is what over 96% of companies do, right? Which just means that they're going to use multiple channels to promote their products or services, right? But when most companies use these different channels, most of the time, the marketing message is different, right? The call to action might be different, imagery might be different. And depending on which channel that they're using, whether that's digital marketing, direct mail, radio, TV, advertisements, the audience is different. So what we're able to do with this platform that we're going to discuss today is use an omni-channel marketing approach where we can take that same marketing message, that same imagery, that same call to action, but we're going to use it across multiple channels. And most importantly, it's to the exact same audience. That audience being that really qualified mailing list that Travis can help you put together for the direct mail campaign itself. You have to stand out, right? It's really important for us to not only have a great offer, but know what makes us unique, what separates us from our competition, right? So, just to give you an example, this is one of our unique selling propositions, right? This is what sets us apart from other printers or other marketing agencies is this platform itself. Not only can we offer unique solutions as far as print, but we can add additional technologies on top of it, reach that target audience across these different channels as well. Also, when we're talking about building out a qualified mailing list, it's really important for us to know exactly who our target audience is, right? It's really important for us to do some sort of customer analysis, whether that's age range information, income level, location data. If we know who our current customers are, it really does allow us to build that qualifying prospecting list around it and reach those like-minded individuals with that same exact messaging. The right principle, right? To be able to be at the right place at the right time with the right messaging. Okay. So this is exactly what our goal is. And this is exactly why we want to be able to reach them across these different channels, right? Because it really does give us a better opportunity to be able to reach that individual at the right time with that same messaging. And we're also here to talk about integrating our marketing, right? So the only way to do this is by utilizing different channels. So what we're able to do again, take that one impression, turn it into 8 to 16 impressions. And by doing so, what we've seen on average is a 23 to 46% lift in response rate as well as conversions over what we'd see from just running that traditional direct mail campaign. But that's huge, right? It really does give you guys the ability to take advantage of every opportunity from that really qualified mailing list that we help you obtain. So it's not direct mail versus digital. This is really an antiquated and old school mentality, right? So the old school mentality was like, hey, should we run some form of, offline marketing like direct mail or heavily invest on the digital side? And the reality is that both of them do have their benefits, right? So we talked about some of the benefits of direct mail, right? It's tangible, it's hyper targeted, it gets an amazing response rate, but it is offline, which does make it very difficult to be able to track and prove attribution from. And it's very difficult, and let's face it, would be very expensive to reach someone, 8 to 16 times within a 30-day time frame just using a physical direct mail piece. Whereas on the digital side of things, yeah, our expectation is not to receive the same response rate from any digital ad that we put out that we would a physical direct mail piece. But everything's online, right? Which makes it very easy to track. And it's easy and relatively, when compared to direct mail, very inexpensive for us to be able to reach that target audience. So what we're really doing is with this platform is we're combining the two together, right? Taking the best of both worlds. And they really do complement each other extremely well, which is why we've created 3D Mail 2.0. And what is 3D Mail 2.0? In its simplest form, it's just a way for us to track the effectiveness and to be able to lift the response rate by using some of these different digital components. And we talked about using that omni-channel approach, right? So same marketing message, same imagery, same call to action across these different channels. And we're really big on being able to prove attribution, right? We want to be able to prove that the marketing is working and that the marketing is also effective. So for anyone within you, for anyone within your organization, we can also give you access to a dashboard, right? Where you can go in and you can view your campaign results and you can view them in real time. So when you go into our dashboard, for example, you can see high level KPIs like total ad displays across all channels, total engagement, which could be a call, a text, a click, a QR code scan. So whatever that desired action is, total website visitors, total leads, total matches, which we'll get into that. I'll explain exactly what that means. But you can also dive into each technology. So each of these 8 technologies that we're using on an individual level to see how it's performing as well. And the way that our platform works, it actually includes all 8 of these technologies that are included in that per piece price. Some are for tracking, some are for boosting and lifting response rates, but all are included in this bundled package. Now, from a timing perspective, the way that our campaigns run is they run for a total of 30 days. And that 30-day clock, it starts on the date that we physically drop that mail off at USPS to be distributed and sent out. The first of these technologies it's going to deploy is going to be Social Match. And this is activated through Facebook as well as Instagram. So what we do is we take that qualified mailing list, upload that information into Facebook and Instagram, and then we're able to identify the social media accounts of those individuals on the list. And what will happen is those people, those mail recipients, will actually start to see your advertisements display in their news feeds and stories. And this will happen even before they physically receive the mail piece. So the real benefit here is we're creating brand awareness, right? Brand recognition, getting those touch points out even before the mail piece arrives on the day of and even several days after, which in the end makes it more likely for them to engage, respond, and in the end, actually convert from that direct mail piece itself. So we already went through the high level KPIs that we can display, but as I'd mentioned, we can also dive into each technology individually to see how it's performing. So when we go into the social match portion, we're able to see exactly how many people from that mailing list we were able to reach, right? As far as show ads to. And keep in mind, that's just through this one technology. We can see our total ad displays, our click-through rate. We can filter the results by mailing list. Like I said, we talked about mailing to multiple lists within that campaign. We can even help filter these clicks by demographic. So we can filter them by gender and or age range. What does this do for us? Well, it gives us really great insight into the demographic information of these people that are clicking and responding, which helps us when we go to build those future lists if we know the demographics of the individuals that are clicking on these advertisements. So up next is mail tracking. First and foremost, right, you're paying for a direct mail campaign. You want to make sure that it's reaching its intended audience. So when you look into our dashboard, you're able to see information like when that mail piece is projected to reach the mailbox, when it's confirmed to reach the mailbox, the percentage it's been delivered. It's integrated with Google Maps. So you can scroll down to a street level view to see exactly when and where this mail is being delivered to. We can see that our mailing list to the bottom right with mailing list information as far as name, address. We have the date that it was mailed, date that it was delivered. And you can filter these results by city, state, county, zip code, all the way down to a per piece level just to verify that that mail has been delivered. And also get ready for that influx in calls, influx in store visits, right? So we can see exactly when it has been delivered. So the next technology we're going over is informed delivery. So I'm hoping that some of you guys are familiar with informed delivery. Those of you that are not, this is actually a free service that you can sign up for your residential address to receive these emails from USPS. And that's exactly what it is, right? It's basically just a digital way to check your mailbox. So anyone that signed up for this service through USPS, which over 55 million households in the US are, will receive an email from USPS about 8 a.m. in the morning. And what you're usually able to see is just this, right? This grayscale scanned image of all the mail that's going to be delivered to your mailbox that day. Now, what we do is we add a campaign on top of it, where not only will they view this grayscale image, but we also add a full color ride along image that has a clickable link that'll go right to your destination URL, conversion, or landing page on the website. And guys, it's just another impression, right? Another great opportunity for us to get in front of that prospect even before the mail arrives. And it also gives them an easy way to convert because all they have to do is click on the link. They get sent to the website or the conversion page from there. Now, as far as the information that we can share, so we're able to show you the emails that were sent out, right? So we know how many people from the list are signed up for this service. We can see the open rate, click-through rate. Now, one thing that is proprietary to our system is that we actually do a match back on our end where we can actually send you over a CSV file, which will tell you who from that mailing list received it, who opened it, and most importantly, who from that mailing list clicked on that advertisement, right? So I've been into marketing a long time, right? Just because someone clicked on an ad doesn't necessarily mean that they convert it, right? So it's really important for us to identify not only how many responses, but who these individuals are, which gives us the opportunity to follow up with them, make sure we add them to that next direct mail campaign or that next marketing campaign, because they've already displayed a high level of interest in what your offer is. They took action and they could have not. So the next technology is call, and we put a spin on it and added text tracking. So with our call and text tracking, what we can do is provide you with basically a vanity number, which can be either a toll-free number or a local number. And this number will not display anywhere other than the direct mail piece itself, but it'll transfer directly to whatever phone line you want that campaign to go to. But that way, every single call or text that comes in, it can be automatically tracked, right? So we can give you demographic information like a phone number, name, address, whether it's a landline or cell phone, age range, gender information. Now, if it's a phone call, all of these calls are actually recorded as well. So you can go into your end of the dashboard and listen to these calls, right? View them for quality assurance purposes, figure out how to improve closing percentages, and so on. Now, with this texting feature, it's not a situation where we're sending outbound SMS messages, but it does give that prospect an additional way to respond. For example, I'll give you a use case. Say you're a nonprofit asking for donations, right? We could put on the direct mail piece, call or text donate, or a doctor looking for new patients, right? Call or text promo code 101, right? Or new patient, whatever that unique code is, they text in. We send them back a fixed response, whatever you want that response to be. Now, ideally, we do want to add a link to a destination URL where they can complete that conversion process on the website, whatever that conversion process looks like. And we've also added QR codes. So recent that I heard the other day that since 2019, QR code usage has gone up 400%, right? So this is a lot of this is due to COVID, right? We go to the airport, we scan a QR code, go to a restaurant, scan a QR code. It's automatically embedded in our phone. We don't have to download an app to scan it anymore. So people are used to using QR codes, right? And it gives them another way to actually engage and respond. So with our QR code system, we have two different options. We can either use a static QR code. So we create one QR code, we print it on each and every mail piece, and then we can track the number of scans. So we're giving them an additional way to respond and tracking the number of responses. Now, of course, in that circumstance, of course, it's aggregate data, right? We don't know who's scanning. We just know how many that we received. Or we can use dynamic QR codes, which are personalized. So with dynamic QR codes, we can print a unique personalized QR code on each and every mail piece. And this gives us the ability to track not only the number of scans, but again, identify exactly who from that mailing list scanned that QR code. We'll see a time and date of each scan, the location the scan takes place in, all the way down to the device type that they were on when they made that QR code scan. So really in our world, it's all about giving them multiple ways to respond, right? To be able to call in, text in, scan the QR code, go to the website. And for us to have some sort of tracking component on the back end to prove that these responses took place as a result of the marketing that we're doing on your behalf. So kind of up until this point, we've talked about what we're doing to drive them into our marketing funnel, right? Bring them into our world. Okay. Obviously, the direct mail piece definitely being the primary driving force, but also using social as well as informed delivery to drive them in. So now we kind of get into some of those re-engagement features. We talked about this stat in the beginning, and that is that, a large percentage of those individuals are going to respond and visit your website, and an even larger percentage of them are going to leave without actually converting. So we really need to be able to re-engage them, right? Stay in front of them, but not only stay in front of them, stay in front of them with that same exact messaging. So with online follow-up, what we're doing is we're running a geo-targeted display ad campaign to retarget those individuals that came to the website as a result of the direct mail piece itself. I'm sure each and every person has experienced this on this call, right? You go to any any website, you look at any product, any service, all of a sudden you're seeing it on Facebook, Instagram, Google. That's exactly what we're doing here. And the reason this is such a powerful tool is because we are using that omni-channel approach and using that same marketing message and that same imagery as that follow-up piece across the Google Display Network, which covers about 90% of the internet. Now, a lot of you are probably have some sort of remarketing plan in place already, right? So we're not trying to replace that. We can set this up in multiple ways. We can retarget off of, say, a specific URL related to the product and service that you're offering, or even by location, right? We can track site-wide and only retarget within those areas that we actually mail to. It prevents overlap with your current digital strategy and still allows us to use that omni-channel approach. And when we look into the dashboard in the online follow-up portion, so we can see the total number of unique visitors, which just represents our follow-up audience across the Google Display Network, right? People that are eligible to see these ads. Our total ad displays, our click-through rates, and just like through any technology, we can see our total clicks, our total ad views per day. Social media follow-up, same exact concept, right? They come to the website, and as long as they hit that landing page or they're within the areas we mailed to, or if we're just tracking site-wide and remarketing to everyone, now they're eligible to see those same advertisements they even saw on Social Match display in their news feeds as well as stories, and these are going to show up on Facebook and Instagram as well. Love social media, and one of the reasons I do is because it really does give us the opportunity to reach these individuals not only across multiple channels, but across any device that they log into their social media account from, right? So we really are able to inundate a small number of really qualified individuals, right? People that have already showed interest and already visited the website with a large number of advertisements in that short 30-day window. Also, it's much more of an interactive platform, right? So typically our click-through rate percentage that we receive from social media follow-up is about double of what we see from online follow-up, which is more for awareness, for example. And we can see our unique visitors with social media, our total ad displays, our click-through rates. And you might be thinking, well, what about the demographic that I'm actually advertising to? Which is one of the reasons that we use both channels, right? So maybe an older demographic, they might be more inclined to use Facebook. Younger might be using Instagram. So we can reach them across either channel that they log into. Now, the last and definitely the most proprietary of all the technologies that we're using when we're talking about our 3D Mail 2.0 full service platform is going to be Lead Match. So what Lead Match is we actually provide you with a pixel. So just a piece of code to place on the website. And what this pixel does is it uses information like IP address, device ID, right? Every device has basically its own fingerprint that we can identify, location data, as well as cookies within a website visitor's device. And cookies are just bits of information, right? So when we order that, 15th order off of Amazon for the day, we don't have to type in our address, right? It auto populates. And then with that information, we can identify the residential and or business address of an anonymous website visitor. And we're able to identify that address with about a 95% accuracy rate. So using all four of those data points, we can get a pretty good accurate address on there. So the first thing that we're doing with this information, as far as collecting an address, is we're helping to prove attribution by providing you with a match rate. So we can actually say, hey, this person from this address came to your website. This address is also on your mailing list. Now, of course, there are going to be people that come to your website from other sources, right? Other marketing campaigns that are in effect, organic website traffic, individuals that we do not have any sort of contact information on whatsoever. So addresses that we're able to capture that are not on the mailing list are going to show up as a lead. So when you look into this dashboard, you can see the number of leads and the number of matches. If you decide to purchase this data, what we will be able to provide for you is a detailed lead match report. And within this report, we can show you not only the address of these individuals, but information on what they were doing on the site. So we can see how many times they visited your website, the top 5 URLs that they visited on your site, and the amount of time that was spent on each page. So the idea is if we can look in this report and see that, hey, this person from this address spent 1 minute and 45 seconds looking at this specific product or this specific service, we know exactly what they're interested in. And this gives us the ability to retarget them and remarket to them with a physical direct mail piece. So just like you might retarget someone digitally through Facebook, Instagram, or Google, we can now provide you with a list of the most qualified individuals to receive a direct mail piece moving forward. And there's no one more qualified to receive a piece of marketing mail than an individual that's already visited your website that we already know is interested in what you're offering. And we can even use this technology to help you acquire a mailing list, right? So we can even set up like a lead match only campaign, identify that website traffic on the front end and add them to a prospecting list or even just mail to those individuals that visited the site.
Hey, Terry, since we're talking about lead match, we had a couple questions about that. One, biz address, B2B versus B2C on the tracking, and then also the match rate and how reliable that is. So I think that's a great place. Well, since we're talking about it, let's hit those 2 points right now, if you don't mind.
Sounds good. So on a residential address, the only identifiable information that we're capturing is that address. And the reason that we keep it at an address level is because we don't want to violate any sort of PII laws, right? An address is considered public information. Now, on a business address, the information that we're able to share with you is you'll be able to see the business name, the business address, the actions that were taken by the individual within that business that visited your website. And we'll even be able to provide you with a list of potential contacts within that organization, as well as their job titles and potentially an email address as well. Now, that doesn't mean that that person or even those contacts all visited the website. It just gives us an opportunity to make sure that we address that retargeted direct mail piece to the marketing director or to the salesperson, whomever we're trying to contact within that organization, or the CEO or CFO, for example. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you say the action they took, you're talking about the website, the actual pages they visited, how much
Correct.
time they were on the page. So it's you do get a lot of data with that. And so you can actually kind of hijacking this a little bit, Terry, but you could, let's say you have a product or service where you have multiple products or services. In theory, you could have a direct mail retargeting campaign for each of those products or services. So general dentistry, reconstructive dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and now you can have a message going directly to them. So sorry, Terry.
No, that's exactly right, right? If we know what they're interested in, we can send up something that's personalized, right? People love things that are personalized, that are based upon their interest, and they're more inclined to actually engage with it. Okay. And that the address that we're able to capture is about a 95% accuracy rate, right? Now, normally we can identify around 20 to 30%, right? If we were just using, say, IP address, we could capture probably closer to 40 to 50% of addresses. But when you do that, when you're just using one data point, the accuracy level goes down. So by using all 4 data points, yeah, we might come up with less addresses, but they're a lot more accurate, right? And if we're retargeting them with a physical direct mail piece and we're paying to do so, we want to make sure that it's that individual that's on our website.
Yeah. So just to clarify that, of your website visitors, we'll be able to ID match 20 to 30% of those. So 2 to 3 out of every 10 we'll be able to identify. Of that 20 to 30%, on average, 95% of those are mailable, accurate addresses to that person. So I know it's a little confusing. You got two numbers. So 20 to 30% of all website visitors, we will get their information, we will get their mailing address. And of that 20 to 30%, 95% is now that's our bench line for we're not going to, Terry mentioned that we use 3, 4, 5 different data points. Using all those data points gives us that 95% accuracy. All right. What else? There was another question here. How quickly is the information available on Lead Match, Terry?
Oh, within a day. We're collecting those leads on the spot, and which actually leads us into our next slide, right?
Yeah.
So, with these leads, we can actually filter them before you purchase them. So we can filter them by time frame and or location. So we could say, hey, we only want to purchase the leads from the last 7 days or the last 30 days, or we only want to purchase the leads within the state of Washington, right? Or a specific city, or normally we cater to a 5-mile radius around our brick and mortar location. So we could filter them all the way down to a zip code level, right? We only want to purchase leads within these 10 zip codes because they're most likely to engage. So this allows us to only purchase those leads that are actually relevant to us. And we can even set it up for auto delivery, right? We could say, hey, we want to automatically purchase these leads on a daily basis or every 3 days or on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. We don't want to go any further than that because, hey, they're on your website now, which means they're interested in what you're offering right now. But you download the data and usually we can get it over to you within a couple of hours.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to catch up on some of the questions. They came in, they've trickled in, and now they're coming in hot and fast. So Bill asks, tracking in the US versus outside the US.
So with Lead Match, we can only identify the address within the US. Is that what he's referring to?
Yeah, he asked specifically California, US, rest of the country. I assume California is on par with most of the rest of the country. I know they have some consumer laws that maybe some other states don't have, but because we're using all those different data points and not giving you any personal data besides a mailing address, which for now is public data, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, I don't think you see much of a difference between California versus the rest of the country, correct?
No, there's some specific states like California really is like the only one where you might have to have like a pop-up saying that we are tracking your location, for example. But the rest of them, yeah, and we can still identify the addresses in California. There just might be some disclosures that happen.
Got it. What else? David asked about EDDM, every door direct mail.
Yeah, I actually love using this platform with EDDM because one thing about EDDM is saturated, right? So basically, you're saturating an area with a physical direct mail piece. Well, we can do the same thing from a digital perspective, right? Whether that's even circling a radius and running geo-targeted ads within that location. So the more saturated it is, it actually makes it even easier for us to deploy these different technologies.
Cool. And then they also asked, and David, I'll answer this. From an EDDM perspective, you won't see much difference. There's a little bit of difference when we set it up under the hood. But you can still, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we can still use the personal QR codes for those or not?
No, we can't use personalized QR codes because we don't know which mail.
Because we don't have a name. All we have is an address.
And then we're not gonna get mail tracking because there's no scans taking place, and informed delivery only activates if there's a scan taking place, of course, to send them the actual alert. We'll still be able to get them 8 to 16 impressions even without informed delivery. We just make it up with the other technologies that we have available to us.
Yeah. So to answer your question, David, can still be 90% of this can still be used with the EDDM. You're not going to get mail tracking because there is no tracking, and then the personal QR code. So, but all the other stuff, the lead match, the social match, the retargeting, the Google Display Network, the Facebook Meta, Instagram Display Network. Before we get going, all that stuff is still there. So, EDDM is great. It has its shortfalls because of what it is, right? We don't know names. We don't have, really physical addresses. It just goes to a mail receptacle on that route. So I think we covered that pretty well. Let's see here, Terry. If you have any more slides, why don't you continue on, and then I'll keep checking the chat here.
Well, I always just like to share a case study at the end because obviously the proof is in the pudding, right? So we do have multiple case studies with across different industries, and with this one, we actually worked with a local community college, and what they did was they put together a list of a little over 3,000 individuals, and their initial investment was around $3,500 for the postcard as well as the digital enhancement as well. And at the end of their registration period, they actually brought in 119 new students, right? So the total amount of revenue that they brought in from those 119 students was over $250,000 in revenue, right? So it was a very strong performance. They were thrilled, as you can imagine, with the return on investment by not only utilizing this powerful channel of direct mail, but also using this omni-channel marketing approach and using some of these different digital technologies as well. And guys, overall, in its simplest form, what we're really aiming to do is to be able to take that one impression, turn it into 8 to 16, right? Reach those qualified mail recipients across multiple channels, across multiple devices, and at the same time, give you access to a dashboard where you can actually go in, view the result in real time, and really prove how effective this marketing is. And I know we have some other questions.
Yeah, I'm just typing one right now. I'll just say it because you took a pause. There will be a replay. So those of you that have registered, which is everyone currently listening, you will get a replay link. Don't know if it'll get rendered and out today, but it'll get rendered and go out tomorrow for sure. Brett asks, is there any special leverage here with variable data printing, or the two technologies just quietly, peacefully coexist? Yeah, Brett, I mean, when we run these, we're almost always doing personalized variable printing, right? So we're, inserting names, inserting all kinds of different data, right? The personal QR codes would be an example of variable data printing. So there really, as far as you, the end user, is concerned, there's not really a difference. As long as we have a mailing list in an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, and you've got the variable data mapped, in columns, then we're good to go. So I think I covered that, Brett. If not, feel free to chime in, unmute yourself. All right, I got a thumbs up from you. Perfect. Awesome. George asked about my dad, Keith. So I'll take 2 seconds there. He's doing great, George. He is, most of these people know my dad because we started this business together. Terry, I know you know the back end. But he is mostly retired now. He comes into the office about once a week, works from home a couple days a week, and does a whole lot of fishing and spoils my kids, his grandkids, horribly. So that's what he's up to now. Jamil asked about compliance with CCPA laws. Terry, I'm not familiar with CCPA laws.
That was the pop-up that I was referring to when you're utilizing Lead Match in California.
Got it. So we don't have any
and
issue
having an
there.
opt-in. No, we're not going to run any issue there.
Got it. Yeah, and it goes back to the non-proprietary data, the address being deemed public record is kind of the idea there, right?
Yeah, you get in. Yeah, it's not like you couldn't use a pixel to collect a name or email address or even social media accounts from those individuals. We just don't use it in that capacity because we don't want to violate any of those privacy restrictions.
Yeah, and then there was something else I wanted to. It popped in my head and popped out, so I don't. Hopefully, it'll pop back in here really quickly. Any other questions? We're at 11:40 a.m. Pacific time, so we've got another 20 minutes or so if we want to go that long. Obviously, if there's not any questions, we'll wrap it up there. But I will say this: if any of this has sounded good to you, if you want to try it, if you want to have a conversation with myself and Terry about how it can be used in your business, go to thefutureofdirectmail.com, and there's a link in the chat now. And you can schedule a one-on-one with us to see how this works, how it'll work for your business. If you've been here on this call, obviously, we don't need to rehash most of this unless you have specific questions. George asked about a white label. George, go to that website and schedule a call. Put your name in. Tara will get in touch with you, and then we'll hash that out. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it can get a little complicated. That's mainly, again, more of an under the hood thing that we do when we set up these campaigns. So not something we can't do, George, but we just need to talk about it. What are your goals? What are the goals of the client? Things like that. So, yeah, anything else? Any other questions? Feel free to type them in. One of the things that I think Terry glossed over relatively quickly with that lead match is that ability to put that piece of code on your website, regardless of whether you're running all the other bells and whistles that we have with Direct Mail 2.0, is we can actually get you set up, give you that pixel, and now you can start tracking those leads. And what I tell customers all the time is, hey, just put that code on there, and let's, over a couple days, a couple weeks, it's going to depend on the traffic that you have on your website. If you get hundreds and hundreds of visits a day, then it's not going to take very long to see those results. And now you can take that list, and what we do is we call data append it. And we didn't even talk about that. And Terry, we've done a whole webinar on this before, just on the on the lead match and data append stuff. But you can take those anonymous website visitors, get that mailing address, and then what's not considered breach of data is to take that list offline and then do what we call a data append and match those addresses to names, phone numbers, potentially emails. And so, depending on your type of business, that might be very important to you. Now, I would advocate that most consumer-facing businesses, retail stores, even professional services, doctors, dentists, DDSs, things like that, if you are doing a lead match campaign and you know what websites they visited on your page, to send a targeted message to just homeowner at 123 Main Street, I think for most consumer-facing businesses on a lead match is going to be just fine. Now, if you want to take it the next step, we can do data append. There are costs to that, to get that additional data. But that's something else. If you guys want to get in touch with us and chat about, we can certainly look at that as well. Bob, or a way to capture leads from EDDM. So Bob asks, is there a way to capture leads from EDDM with a QR code? Just with the static code, correct, Terry? So we can use the QR code with EDDM, but it's going to be that static QR code that you can get, from any free service, right? Our proprietary thing really now is that personal QR code, but we can't do a one-to-one match back on an EDDM, because we don't know which piece is going to go to which house. Right. So EDDM, we print them all up, we dump them at the post office, and the post office just puts them in every mail receptacle on that route. So there's just no way to know.
Yeah. Now with lead match, we can't identify the address of the individual, though, right?
Yes.
So it does give us it does give us the chance to identify, someone along that carrier route that did actually respond from that EDDM piece and visited the website, though.
David asked about small numbers. We do have to not belabor the point too much, David, we have a light campaign and we have a full service campaign. The light campaigns are made for under 2,000 pieces. The full campaigns are made for over 2,000 pieces. I won't belabor the point too much, but there are ways to do this. So for example, I have clients who use the light campaign who are mailing every single week, and they might only mail a few hundred every week. So what we do is we get the mailing list, say on a Wednesday, we mail on Thursday, we upload that list Thursday afternoon, and now he's getting 200 this week, 175 the next week, 212 the next week. And over the course of months and months and months, he's going to have thousands and thousands of contacts in there to then start matching. And then what Google and Instagram and Facebook like to do is they take those small numbers and they send it out to other people who match the demographic that you've done. So this client who's done this week after week for almost a year now, he's seeing better results because the more names he puts in, the better targeting Facebook and Instagram and Google can do. Let's see. With lead match, how do we ensure that we are not buying lead data? We already have the full postal address for our house file. Do you have our house file to cater to this? So what do you think about that?
What we can do, if you guys have a huge customer list or even a smaller customer list and you want to run it against that list, before you actually pay for the data, we can do that as well. That's not an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. And we called, we get the list. If there's 50 matches, we remove them.
Yeah, and sometimes depending on what industry you're in and the different products and services that you're offering, it still might be valuable to have that data because, like
Yeah,
I said, it's not
yes.
just showing you the address, but it's also showing you what actions are being taken. Maybe that customer or that client has been paying for one service or one product in the past, but they're interested in a new product or new service
Yeah.
based on what their website activity is. So it's situational, but sometimes it might be valuable to still have that lead data on that individual that you already have information on.
Yeah. And we call that a merge purge. We do that a lot in direct mail. So you buy a list of prospects. You don't want to buy the list. You have your in-house list. You don't want to buy the names twice. It's the same idea. So we can do that as well. Nick asks about the pixels being used across multiple landing page domains, websites. Terry, we just set up a pixel for every website, correct?
Yeah, it would be a different GTM code, which will contain all three codes that we need to activate this platform. That would have to, if it's a different domain, it'd be a different campaign, right? But if it's a different subdomains that we're tracking under one primary domain, we just need one code to be placed.
Yeah. And so, Nick, let's say you've got Nick James got Tom, you got Nick James marketing.com, and you only want to run just the lead match portion of it. You would then need 2 pixels. From our perspective, again, under the hood, they would be considered 2 campaigns. But yeah, you can do that. And Nick, I don't know if you mentioned, I know you're across the pond there. This does only work in the US. So keep that in mind as well. I know you cross the sea a lot. So just be aware that those are only going to be for your US based clients. I think I've got everything. Yep. Nick says US is fine. Perfect. Let's see. I think we've got everything, Terry. Again, if you want to schedule that free consult with Terry and myself, go to thefutureofdirectmail.com. Now that you've seen this, we can dive into your exact business, what kind of business you are, what we think may or may not work with your offer, with your customer base, with what you want to accomplish. Because you've seen this, you'll be able to, we'll be able to jump right in. There won't be a bunch of, well, here's your social match, and here's this, and here's that.
A lot more questions on your specific business and how we can
Exactly.
tailor these technologies to meet your needs, of course.
Yep. Jeff asked, are there any differences in response and approach to B2B to B2C? How much does delivery rate change B2B with so many working remote? Loaded question, Jeff. I'll give you the high points. From a direct mail 2.0 perspective, there's not a lot of difference. We're still going to be able to match names and addresses. We're still going to be able to do all the retargeting. We're still going to be able to do the lead match, all that kind of stuff. To your question about, so many people working remote these days, most people are still picking up their mail. So if they're not having it rerouted, they're still going in and picking it up. In some industries, you can actually get home addresses. Those are particularly relevant in, say, professional services, where the person needs a endorsement, advanced degree. So think, MDs, DDSs, chiropractors, attorneys, CPAs, where they, you basically have to go to the state, go to some kind of functioning board, register yourself, pass a test. Generally speaking, we can get home addresses for those folks. Little bit tougher when you get, say, like into my world, a direct mail print shop or agency. There's no place for us. That's not to say you can't get those addresses, but there's no, we don't go and register with the state of Washington to hang our shingle as a CPA, as a marketing agency. So that's kind of the general rule there, Jeff. When possible and when I can get home addresses, I do like it. So that could be a whole topic. We could do a whole 3-day seminar on the differences there. But I hope that, Jeff, kind of answers the questions a bit for you. And Jeff, and it's something that we struggle with. all of my businesses are B2B facing. Do we get the occasional person that's a consumer that is a consumer? Yes. Do we get customers who are businesses that cater to other consumers? Absolutely. But that is the struggle in the B2B space. Making outbound phone calls beforehand to verify addresses, especially if it's a smaller list, things like that help. But again, most people are still getting mail forwarded. They're going in and picking it up, things like that. All right. Last call for questions. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. I'm going to let you know again that if you want to get a one-on-one opportunity to pick my brain, pick Terry's brain, see what would work for you on this, thefutureofdirectmail.com. Get that free consult. We're happy to meet with you. And Terry, we did it in 51 minutes. I think we're going to call that good, guys. Going once, going twice. All right. We're going to let him go, Terry. Thank you again so much. We're going to let you go. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or my team, Travis at 3dmailresults.com, Tara at 3dmailresults.com, or toll free 888-250-1834. And we're going to go. Thanks so much, Terry. And thanks, everyone, for attending. Bye-bye.